Hey guys, this is Phil and welcome to a video review on the Nvidia GeForce 256 DDR. Previously on Phil's Computer Lab, we had a look at Nvidia's regular GeForce 256 as well as ATI's dual chip Rage Fury Max. Other videos on my channel cover additional cards from 3DFX, ATI, Matrox and S3. Thanks to double data rate memory, the GeForce 256 DDR features much higher memory bandwidth compared to the regular GeForce. The GeForce 256 uses SD-RAM and has a bandwidth of 2.7 GB per second. However, the GeForce 256 DDR comes with a whopping 4.8 GB per second. We will have a look at how DDR memory works later in this video, but for now let's dive straight into some benchmarks and see what this card can do. In 3D Mark 2000 the GeForce DDR is now in the lead, and the same goes for 3D Mark 2001. In Draken, the GeForce 256 DDR is the fastest card, only the Rage Fury Max is able to still hang in there. In Expandable, the GeForce 256 DDR is also very powerful, however the Rage Fury Max was able to be a little bit faster at the 1280 by 1024 resolution. In GL Quake there's no stopping the GeForce DDR, it is the quickest card. We're getting 135 FPS at 1024 by 768 and even at the higher 1280 by 1024 a massive 86 FPS. The same goes for Quake 2, we're also getting amazing performance out of this card. And the trend continues with Quake 3, 89 FPS in 1024 by 768 is a very impressive result. And the same goes for MDK2, we're getting 84 FPS at 1024 by 768. So looking at these results, it was clear that the GeForce was memory starved, and thanks to the DDR memory, it can now really show what it can do. The card dominates all the benchmarks. There's just one exception, and that was Expandable at 1280 by 1024, which runs a little bit faster on the Rage Fury Max. In direct 3D games, the ATI Rage Fury Max is very strong and is the closest competitor to the GeForce 256 DDR. Now once we look at the OpenGL results, it's all game over for the competition. There's no doubt the GeForce 256 DDR is significantly faster than all the other cards. In GL Quake and Quake 2 you can enjoy more than 100 FPS at 1024 by 768, and even the more demanding Quake 3 and MDK2 run very smooth with over 80 FPS. You guessed it, of course, the game running in the background is Half-Life. Quite a few requested to see this game featured again, so here it is. The GeForce 256 DDR runs this game extremely well. The engine has a 72 FPS limit, and through a console command I was able to raise that limit to 100 FPS, but I wasn't able to go beyond that. I am using a retail CD version with the latest patch applied. On older retro gaming PCs, Half-Life can be quite demanding, but it is mostly held back by the processor. With this test machine, we don't have this issue because the Pentium 4 at 2.8 GHz has plenty of speed, so the GeForce 256 DDR can really shine. Now I got massive tearing, so I did end up enabling VSync and locking the synchronization at 60 Hz, and at 1024 by 768 the game runs at a locked 60 FPS most of the time. However, looking at the frame graph over time, we can see frequent dips below when there's a lot going on the screen, but otherwise this game is very playable. The very large dips can be ignored, they have to do with loading new areas. Still, it shows that this is one demanding retro game. Let's have a quick look at how DDR memory is able to boost the performance so drastically. We're dealing with SD-RAM on the GeForce 256, which stands for Synchronous Dynamic Random Access Memory. We've got a diagram here representing the clock signal, and at the rising edge of the clock, that's where the data transfer happens. So if the memory clock runs at 150 MHz, basically 150 million times each second, 128 bits of data get transferred. DDR SD-RAM on the GeForce 256 DDR stands for Double Data Rate Synchronous Dynamic Random Access Memory. Try saying that 5 times really quick. And the only difference is that the data transfer happens twice as often at the rising and falling edge of the clock. So with a real clock speed of 150 MHz, the effective clock speed becomes 300 MHz, and that's how DDR is able to improve performance so drastically. Let's have a look at power draw. So this is the entire system, and I use the same test bench and always just change the graphics card. We can see that at idle and in Quake 2 at 1600 by 1200, there's really not much difference. However, once we turn to expandable with VSync enabled, which is kind of a power efficiency test, it does consume 4 watts less. So we can see that the card is more efficient when turning on VSync. A quick rundown on the card. It was launched at the beginning of the year 2000. It runs at 120 MHz core clock and 300 MHz effective memory clock. The amount of memory is 32 megabytes. It's got a 128-bit memory interface. The AGP standard is 4X and it is compatible with DirectX 7 and OpenGL. In terms of buying this card secondhand on eBay, you will definitely have to look, and if you find one, be prepared to pay a premium, unless of course you get very lucky and you find a card and the seller doesn't know what it is. A quick rundown on the test system. We're dealing with a Pentium 4 running at 2.8 GHz, 512 MB of DDR memory, and Oriel Vortex 2 PCI sound card. We've got a 16 GB SanDisk Ultra SD card for storage. The power supply is a 500 watt model from FSP, and we've got a Windows 98 SE installation. The GeForce 256 DDR offers excellent performance, and most Windows 98 era games should run really well. Early Windows XP era games should also run okay, but maybe not at the highest settings. So what about recommending this card for a retro gamer? Now, if you find one at a good price, absolutely go for it. Very often some of these cards are not identified properly, or you find a bundle of graphics card and there is a GeForce 256 DDR in there. So if the price is low, definitely just buy it. It's definitely worth getting it. If you're a collector and you see a card and it costs a little bit more, it might also be worth going for, because this is a rare card and it will only go up in price. For retro gaming, I wouldn't pay a premium for this card. There are simply a lot of other options out there, like a GeForce 2 or GeForce 3, or looking at some of the ATI Radeon options. And that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like or the dislike button, leave me a comment down below, share the video, and as always, looking forward to seeing you soon with another video.